Yes? Very good. So nice to be here today. Nice to see all of you here. My name is Juuso, Jankama, and I am the CEO of Vincit Solutions. And I'll be talking about how we've been going through a journey with OKR for the past about 3 years. And things that I'm thinking about covering. So first of all, a bit of a company introduction just to give you some context of who we are, what we do. And then just kind of start with the why. Why did we start working with OKRs? What was the situation where we started? And then go through like what we've been doing, what's the approach, some of the key achievements. And I always think it's good to share some of the things that I would do again, some of the things that I definitely wouldn't. So hopefully you can find some insights and ideas for your day-to-day in case you're working with OKRs yourself, and then summing up the things in the end. A bit of a questionnaire first. How many of you have heard about Vincit? Great. How many of you have heard about VincitEAM? A significant drop in the knowledge, and that's quite understandable. So, Vincit Solutions or VincitEAM, we are an independent subsidiary of Vincit Corporation. And we are about 30 people. We run a separate product business, so if you go and ever feel like reading financial reports, the Vincit's financial report will talk about the product business. So we are the product business. And our product is VincitEAM. It's an enterprise level solution for maintenance and asset management. And in terms of business, we're not like a big part of the revenue. We're about 3 million euros. And the EAM business have been doing double-digit growth like for a long time, and that's what we aim to keep doing. So what is it that we do at VincitEAM? So, as we all know, a functioning society and a functioning economy is heavily reliant on all kinds of infrastructure and production. And in order for that to run, there's a ton of machines and equipment that needs to be running on daily basis all the time with high levels of service and quality. And we at VincitEAM work together with companies and organizations that are responsible for a lot of the critical infrastructure types of operations, as well as lots of different industries. And in a way you could say that together with our customers, we keep their machines running and we help them to bring us clean water, food on the table, and electricity to all the things that we need. In practice, VincitEAM, it's a IT system. We focus on maintenance and asset management, and basically how we help our customers is that we help them to increase their digital capabilities around these topics so they can turn their maintenance operation from a cost center to a strategic asset, help customer organizations to reach their goals. And in a nutshell, our system takes everything related to maintenance and asset management, equipment information, workers, tasks, materials, instructions, you name it, into one place, and we provide it to the workers wherever they are at any given moment where they need to do the task. So that's basically what we do. And one of the important things, of course, is that it's an enterprise level solution. So no system is an island, and from the very beginning of our journey, we've been able to really integrate to anything and allow digitalization, not only on the front end but also in the back end. And in terms of like how long we've been doing this, the VincitEAM idea was conceived in 2016 and development started since, and we started from pretty much from nothing. And now we are a company that serves about 150 different sites and factories, mostly in Finland, but there's also some in Europe and some in North America. And you can see some of our customers there. So pretty well-known large companies that rely on VincitEAM as the mission critical maintenance system. So moving on, so why did we start doing OKR to begin with? So it started, I started as the CEO of Vincit Solutions in December 2001. And when I started, I was basically given a task that, we just need to keep growing. But in order to do that, we need a little bit of structure, a little bit of strategy, so just go and do it. And that was the background also, as I said, we've been doing a double-digit growth for the business area for quite a long time, and that has been going on still. But when I started, it came clear to me that even though we started getting size and we had a pretty big team, we were not organized as a proper business. And looking around, it was clear to see that a lot of the focus of the team was on day-to-day survival, firefighting, and one of the reasons was that it wasn't really a well-structured operation. It was more of a operation that was loosely arranged around individual customers and individual projects. Also, one of the things I did right away was I put together a personal survey, trying to understand that what's good, what's not working, what is that we need to improve on. And there were like some clear things that popped up. And one was that there was a lack of direction. People were craving for a clearer strategy, better understanding who are we, what are we doing. Then also the operational mode was sort of missing, and there was lots of questions and unclarity about who's supposed to be doing what. And there was lots of feedback about the missing roles and responsibilities. So it was pretty clear that there was a lot to do. And that we really needed to change a lot of things. It wasn't just like, police here, fix here, but we needed to start thinking about how do we actually do business altogether. So the major question was that how are we going to change everything? How are we going to turn into a serious business, but do that fast enough, but at the same time in a way that we don't harm the business as it was, harm the customers that were up and running, and also make sure that our people stay safe, because change is hard. And so I played around with lots of thoughts. I've been doing transformation before in different places and in different contexts, but then trying to figure out how to start and how could I start rolling this, I actually ran into a colleague from the mother Vincit, and he was really excited about OKRs. And I can say I'm not a great OKR expert. There's lots of people here who know the nuts and bolts of it. And I had heard about it, and it kind of sounded good when he was explaining sort of why it might work. So I read a few books and Googled a lot and figured out that this actually sounds like something we could try. And there were some things that really, to me, popped out in the framework. And the first one was that, so the we mentality. When you use OKRs, you work together. It's not like one person show, and it requires a lot of teamwork. And the other thing was that before getting into the whole software business, I worked 10 years in discrete manufacturing, and I'm a firm believer of lean manufacturing practices and sort of production systems. And I see it in so many times that making big change in small steps tends to be the way of working, and OKRs really drove that same mindset. And then of course, OKRs, by definition, spend a lot of time figuring out what is it that we should do, what is it that we shouldn't do, where do we get the biggest benefit, so the prioritization is built in, so I like that. And then, of course, thinking about the Vincit culture, you probably have heard about, somehow I felt that OKR was really aligned with the company values and the way we do business, so it was easy. And then, lastly, we run Scrum. We're pretty agile in every aspect of the software part of and the delivery part of the business. So, having the similarities in the terminology and the concepts, made me think that it's probably easier than to convince and explain people what it's all about. So that's where we started, and that's why we chose OKRs. And the journey, trying then to kind of capture that, how did we get about it, and what we've done so far. So the first order of business for us, I think, was just like, this is what we do. And since it's a pretty small company, we have a pretty flat structure. You know, I got a green light from my boss, and then, you know, my colleague, the chief business officer, also was like, yeah, sounds good, let's do it. So we didn't have to really like sell it to that many people. And then one of the best decisions I made in this whole thing was that I had gotten familiar with the organization and identified one person that I thought would make a great OKR champion. And so I managed to sell the idea to him that like this is something he's be involved in, and he said yes. And thank God he did, because otherwise I don't think I'd be here talking about the whole thing. So once I got the OKR champion on board, we did a lot of sort of basic groundwork, starting from, you know, studying a lot, understanding the concept, and then starting to build the VincitEAM OKR framework. What should it look like for us? And then once we kind of had figured out that this is the framework, this is the sort of annual schedule we work with, we started thinking about what kind of content do we need. So we started creating training materials, wiki pages, you know, all that kind of stuff. And started working also on preparing that, you know, there's lots of rituals, there's lots of events in OKR, so figured out that what should that look like. And the last thing was just then to tell everybody that this is how we're going to roll, and we had prepared trainings, training materials, workshops, so we started rolling that, and that pretty much happened in February 2022. So it took us like a month and a half to like really dive into it, but it was a pretty intense effort, and especially from our OKR champion. I guess worth mentioning that we did this in-house. We did not have an outside consultant or coach or anything like that, since we figured that, you know, we got it. So one thing that I cannot emphasize enough is that you need somebody to work with. And you know, as it's said in the song, you can blow out a candle, but you can't blow out a fire. If you're by yourself, it's very easy to get distracted and forget this whole thing. But when you have somebody who's passionate about your idea and somebody who sees the potential in what you're doing, you know, you can make a great team. And this is Juhani. Juhani is our OKR champion, as Soihukante, as we call him in Finnish, sort of a torch carrier. He really like committed, and he was a superb guy for the job, because he was first of all one of the guys who really saw the problems in our ways and wanted to improve. But he also is really good at like, you know, getting shit done and getting moving. So as soon as he, you know, we agreed that you have this much time to do this stuff, you know, he was gone. And the fact that he was able to document things well, that he's a great facilitator and techniques for that, and not only likes the idea of like continuous improvement in a business sense, you know, we've been improving the way our OKR works a lot, so he's been really, you know, invaluable in all of that stuff. So I would say that making sure that you have right type of people, right kind of people working with you and who are excited about the topic, you know, is sort of the first, you know, crucial success factor in doing OKR and probably pretty much anything else. Our model is quite straightforward, so, you know, there's a bit of a, you know, Finnish in there. But so we have divided our year in 4 different sprints, or as in Finnish we like to call our on-term verticals, which has a bit of a, you know, funny sort of a, you know, a clang to it. But one of the things that we, you know, realized that you know, and may not be obvious, or may be obvious, I don't know, but we don't need to follow the fiscal year, we don't need to follow the calendar year, and we realized that at least in our environment, you know, the year doesn't start in January. It usually starts after all kinds of, you know, corporate things afterwards. So we thought that we don't need to start the whole thing in January. The other thing we, you know, thought that was good, that we've sort of like divided in a way that we have 2 sort of main like sprints. So one in the spring, one in the fall, that kind of falls in the time that everybody's working. And then we have the ones that are in the summertime, less people working, and then there's usually year-end and annual planning and Christmas and that kind of stuff, so, it works better out for us. One thing everybody always asks is, what is the tool that you use for OKR? Well, we actually use Azure DevOps, so we have all our tasks and items and backlogs in Azure DevOps, and we tried or thought about something else, but our DevOps manager was kind of like, oh my god, take another tool to use. DevOps is good for this, so that's what we went with, and actually works pretty well. The backlog is a backlog, and sprint is a sprint, so context doesn't really matter there. And then we build a lot of stuff, so we have instructions related to the method itself, how to make it goals and targets, and how do you facilitate, and whenever we found out that there's something that we're missing, we have a place where we document everything quite well. We have a Slack channel where this is discussed, and the other thing is that OKRs is, it's visible all the time everywhere. So starting from our strategic planning and get-togethers 4 times a year, to our monthly meetings, to all the team meetings that take place in a weekly basis. So it's a topic that is displayed and discussed all the time. The continuous flow, pretty straightforward, and we've been, actually executing this, 100% since we started. So if you start from the end, so we always, end all the sprints with a retrospective. All the teams do their own retrospective where they, discuss how did we feel about this thing, did we achieve what we tried to achieve, what did work out, what was bad, what are we going to do different the next time. Then we always have a quarterly team day, so we live in a very hybrid world. We have people in Helsinki, people in Tampere, people in Turku, and so being in the same place all the time is not a given for us. And we've now been doing this for quite a while, that we set the days for a year in advance, and we know exactly when the team days are going to be, and everybody's going to be there. And that's pretty much built around a OKR agenda. And there, all the teams share their results from the previous sprints. We have a management overview of the business situation. We go over the strategy, if there's any updates to that, and so on. And that basically is a foundation for the planning. So all the teams will do planning workshops, and they do that enough times that they're happy with the content and the targets for the next sprint. And then we have a steering where we basically rubber stamp them and kind of discuss and debate whether or not those are the right ones, or if there's 2 months, or are they well formulated and whatever. And once the steering has approved the OKRs for all the teams, then we get into the weekly cadence where all the teams have their weekly meetings, and then we have a steering once a week. So looking back, some of the things that we've achieved and what has worked out well for us. So the first year, I think one of the biggest successes was that we were able to get all the ducks in a row, as Americans like to say. So we were able to really define and communicate what is the VincitEAM business, why do we exist, what are our goals, what is the strategy. And I think that created a lot of purpose for everybody, and also everybody now understands that what are we doing and why. And not only that, we were able to trickle it down to the teams and also to the individuals. So I think the way people were able to understand the importance of their work really changed and improved quite a bit. The other thing, we got organized. So we defined our key processes. We were able to figure out that what kind of roles should we have around those key processes. And basically, you could summarize the first year in a way that we transformed from a loosely coupled individuals into a professional organization that was set in a professional and purposeful way. And I guess one of those things that, a bit of an anecdote, it took quite a while. We started in February, we did our first sprint, went quite well, but it was lots of trying and figuring out what's going on. Second sprint, sort of similar. But after the third sprint, I remember we were in Helsinki, everybody, and we actually had learned to formulate some pretty good goals and targets. And one of them was related to like, we should be able to provision our customer environments in a set time. And that was the moment, I knew that this thing is actually, taking off, because that was the most intense and most in-depth conversation about any business problem. There were people that were saying that we cannot do it that quickly, and others were like, trivial thing, and that conversation wouldn't end. It lasted to the evening part of the team day, and that was a great teachable moment where a lot of people understood, in my opinion, that OKR is actually a lot about creating conversations, defining problems, talking about them together, and then figuring out that, like, is this something we want to solve, and if it is, how are we going to do it as a team? So that was a pretty good moment. So in the second year, we've been running the process, and kind of just occurred to us that, this actually also works like a core management system. We don't really need any other type of a steering or management team or team leading get-togethers or whether, anything like that. OKR it is. It sets the framework, it sets the rhythm of business, it sets our calendars. We have everything put into the calendar at the beginning of the year, all the monthly meetings, all the team meetings, all the quarterly get-togethers, it's all there. And I think that people appreciate because the sort of regularity around these rituals create a sort of a continuity, sense of belonging, sense of safety, and I think that has made it much easier to deal with a lot of the things, and we have much less sort of a ripple, weird things that burst out somewhere, because there's always a place and time for having conversations and discussions, and also information flows quite well between the different parts of the business. Then also we got into a place that I think we were able to start solving more complex, more cross-organizational issues. So the first year was kind of like the low-hanging fruits within the teams, and then secondly we started figuring out the low-hanging fruits that kind of go across the organization. And also, as I mentioned earlier, Juhan is a great guy for continuous improvement. So our ways of working with OKR took like massive leaps. So like we got into a situation that everything's digital. We don't use like post-it notes anymore, and so the planning flows nicely from Google Sheets and those kinds of workshopping tools into the DevOps where everything is more formally handled. I think the biggest achievement pretty much is that we've been able to keep the ball rolling and fire up. So we do it and we improve it, and people actually are quite happy about it. And one of the things that we've gotten much better about is that now we just don't put things on the backlog and say we need to do this, but we're in a place that things that we are solving on, it's harder to solve. So we really need to figure out that what gives us the biggest return on time investment. So that has become an automatic part of the planning process. Also, it's been fun to notice that it's more holistic. It's just not about like what can we do better and improve. It's like how do we run the business better. So that has been a big deal for us. So some learnings. The first thing I think was that we spent a lot of time prepping and then creating pull. And we did a lot of active internal marketing. It's been in the monthly meetings, workshops, there's continuous dialogue. And we also invested a lot of time and effort into the infrastructure. So there's a certain set of documents, there's trainings, it's easy to onboard new employees and everything. And that was a big sort of a success factor. The other thing was that we set smart goals in the beginning. They were vague enough, but important enough, and we knew that doing certain things would work. So it was important to start in a way that people felt that, oh, this actually works. This is not just one of those like management gimmicks, but it gives us sustainable, help and improvement in our daily way of working. And then the last thing is that I think people really feel that OKR is our tool. It's not Juuso's tool, it's not Juhan's tool, it's our tool to make change. And just an anecdote again, like we've been doing this for about 6-7 months, and when I started, a lot of people would come to me and it's like, this is wrong, we need to fix that, somebody needs to do something about that stuff. And all of a sudden it died, and I happened to sort of overhear a coffee table conversation where somebody was preaching that, yeah, this is like just not working and somebody should fix it. And then all the others in the table like, just put it on an OKR backlog and fix it. And that's a huge mindset change. It's not for me to fix, it's for them to figure out and fix. And I think that has been the biggest change, and I can see that on every day. There's lots more ownership and lots more willingness to do things right. And Juhani insisted I put this slide here, and he said that it's important that the management is committed. And in a company of our size, it's much easier. I'm the CEO, so if I say that we're going to do it, it's easy for me to follow up with that. I think it's much harder in bigger organizations maybe to get the top management commitment, but I firmly believe that this is a mandatory thing. And also, it's not just me. Our team leads are like great people who wanted to make change for better, and they've been really like actually driving the message in their teams and also to the non-believers in ways that I never could have. So they I need to thank them for that. There are some misses. So first of all, even though we thought we planned really well and we were ready to go, we were not ready to go. So we didn't spend enough time figuring out that when we do our first planning, what happens next, and that was quite painful. And the similar theme sort of like came up after every single ritual that it was kind of there but not quite. So we actually then had to work a lot on the facilitation. We need to make things digital. We needed to streamline how everything flows from the conversation to documenting into the actual backlogs. So I would say that it's important to think about those little things, how you actually run stuff. Then the other thing, we were pretty laxed on what kind of targets we accepted. We thought that it's better just that everybody can come up with some kind of OKRs and goals and be done with them. But turns out that when everybody has their own format, it goes sideways pretty badly. And some of the usual problems were that 2 weeks after the planning, nobody would actually know that what are we trying to do with this goal. What is it for? And also then it was very difficult to compare that, are we doing similar types of things? So we had to kind of then show some tough love and force a more one size mold on how everything's run. What does good look like in plannings and retros and everything? And then the last thing, I kind of mentioned that already, but it's really important to figure out what does a good target look like. How do you formulate it? And if you don't do that, you will not be able to know if you actually achieve your goals or not. You may not be remembering that, what the goal means. So we spend a lot of time then practicing, how do we do it? ChatGPT is actually a really good tool for figuring out, what good OKRs can look like. But just summarizing, so it's been a long journey, about 3 years, 2.5 years we've been doing it now. So a lot of things have changed in the business. And I think one of the biggest things is that we have now a clear operating model. We are very organized. We know exactly how things should work. And we have a management system that can deal with any kind of a issue kind of routinely and predictably. So there's value in that. Then of course the other stuff that makes me maybe the happiest is that the team is getting very good at discussing difficult issues and solving problems. And also I think we've gotten truly to a place that I don't need to really decide on a lot of the stuff. The teams are the experts, the people are the experts. So we've been able to take the decision making, to where the action happens, to the teams, to the customer, and so on. And people feel like they can change things for better. We don't question. Sometimes things go horribly wrong and we learn from them. But the most thing is that we have the courage to try and try to make things better. And also visibility. We now know what everybody's working on, so that's a big deal. The last thought is that, and what I've learned is that, once you start on a change journey, there's lots of low-hanging fruits to pick from, but eventually they will run out. So then as the time goes by, you find out that to create any kind of significant impact, you need to actually work much harder with larger groups of people. But the positive is that as we learn as a team, we grow as a team, we also get much better at that stuff. So in the end, it feels like that even though we're dealing with harder problems, we get the same kind of outcome from all the different sprints. And to me, and stolen from Juhani's great thoughts, is that OKR is a continuous path of learning. It never will be ready. It never will be perfect. And we've been in a place where we're really happy that this is working out so great. And then 2 weeks later we realize, oh shit, we can't be doing this anymore. We gotta do something different. So it kind of just keeps re-evolving, or we find ways to make it better. But really, the essence to me is that it's a great way of driving engagement. It's a great way of having dialogue, and it's a great way for building culture. And now, as we know that where we're trying to go, we understand what kind of problems we're dealing with. The team is more capable of solving those, and it feels like we're making big strides towards where we want to be. That's it. Thank you.